Welcome to the show. My name is Jeramy Poole, and I'm the host of The Moment on Real Estate Social, where we explore and celebrate the necessary transformational process you must go through to achieve a high level of success. Today, we have a fantastic group of guys here. We have Zack, Lazo, and Ian Morrell, CEO and President of Caliber Real Estate. These guys are incredible. I understand you have 75 agents on your roster, and you have over 200 real estate flips under your belt.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
We've been saying 200 for probably a year now, so maybe
lots of great experiences.
Lots of great. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. First of all, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And second of all, as you know, the show's called The Moment. What would you consider as being your moment, defining moment, or series of moments that have allowed you guys to accomplish so much at such a young age? I don't know how old you guys are, but you guys look like you're fairly young.
Well, first of all, thank you for that.
Yes.
So, they pay me for that.
So obviously there's a lot of moments that we brainstorm. Okay, there's many moments we could share to get us where we're at and different paths that it took us.
Yeah.
I think a big one for me that really got me here was a previous employer that I was at. I haven't told this story very often, and there's a chance that some of them are going to be watching this show, but really I started working in a firm it was 2007, 2008. It was a hard money lending firm.
Okay.
And the fund was smaller, $3 or $4 million, and my wife was actually the first employee. I was the second.
Wow.
She actually got me the job.
That's cool.
She tells everyone about how she got me in this business, and it's true. And
I like her already.
The CEO actually interviewed me, really with only meeting me once or twice. I like to say that he got lucky with me and I got lucky with him.
Sure.
He wanted to go out and raise a bunch of capital for the fund and build the fund, and he needed someone to take over originating.
Okay.
So from year 1 to year 5, the fund grew to a little over $30 million. I was the originator, underwriter, manager of the fund.
Wow.
And the fund ended up purchasing a mortgage company, purchasing a bank, and just growing and growing and growing.
Jeez.
And in our 10,000 square foot office on the water in Kirkland, I was probably directly or indirectly responsible for hiring maybe about 70% of the people sitting in that office. Just buddies from the mortgage business, buddies from real estate. Brought this guy on, and I really took ownership of this company, and I was there from the beginning.
Sure.
And I started noticing as the investors would come by and as the CEO would introduce, the executive team, I was left out in many of those conversations.
Wow.
On the management team of the website, I wasn't there. Everyone in the office knew that I was that guy to ask if they had questions. I was the guy, they called me their boss, and I kind of felt like I was the mistress of the CEO. I had the nice office in the corner, and he'd come in there and tell me how amazing I am and how I'm the most important person in this company.
Yeah.
But when it comes to introducing me to investors or board members, I felt invisible. Sure. And I kind of it messed with my self-confidence.
Absolutely.
And I found an email I wasn't supposed to find that went through the channels, and basically he had written, because I don't have a college education, that I wasn't caliber enough to be a part of the management team.
Wow.
So again, I was in the closet with no college education. I didn't have the pedigree that he was looking for, and it hurt, and really honestly it pissed me off.
Yeah.
And
as it should.
I remember we were talking about this the other day. It was January 2013, and it was the holiday party. And every year the holiday party, the CEO gets up in front of all the investors, and they put on a big PowerPoint on here's what we're doing, here's how awesome we are, here's what the next year looks like.
Sure.
And I remember seeing the org chart and seeing all these people on there without my name on there. And I remember thinking, what am I doing here? Being, again, employee number 2 to over 300 employees, and being a big part of what made that company grow and run, it was really kind of a big deal for me. So I made a decision that I was going to be out the door and find something new, and sure enough, 2 months later, we started Caliber.
Good for you. Good for you, and you're doing extremely well.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that story. I'm not happy that happened to you, but I think that if that didn't happen to you,
I am happy.
And, if that didn't happen to you, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Right? That's phenomenal. Zack?
Yeah, and I think that's such a great story, because I think for me, a moment comes at a time of adversity.
Sure.
Or a time of failure. And I think for us, being in business together, we've had so many of them. As crazy as that sounds, we had so many failures. But I think for me, if I was to track it back to one situation in particular, I would track it back to something that's a little bit more personal. So, I was a twin growing up, identical twin. literally, if I were to go to the bathroom and he were to come in and replace me, you would not know the difference today.
That's cool.
And you know, I was the shy one. He was the extrovert. You know, I was that one that got a chance to, you know, kind of sit back and observe. And I was that, you know, that observer, that quiet kid. And I think that as you know, as I went through childhood and, you know, went through high school and college, I kind of just got a chance to kind of coast by, being, you know, in the shadows. And it worked. You know, I did fairly well. You know, I'm from the Tacoma area. I went to Wilson High School, you know, and it worked. And I think that anyone who knows me from back then would kind of say the same thing. Yeah, he was a nice kid. He was shy. And I remember in particular, it was you know, it was my second year in UW, and it was our first time being away from home. You know, you're among 20, 30,000 other kids. You know, they're on their own for the first time, and you can choose to go out and have fun, or you can choose to study. And for me, I was like, I'm going to take that path of least resistance. I'm going to go out there and have a good time. And so, at the end of year 2 of my UW experience, you know, grades weren't going well. I really just didn't know why I was there, and so I electively pulled myself out of UW. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be here for college, I need to be here to be successful. And I went through this kind of this darker period where I was out of school. I was still living on campus. I was still seeing all my friends going to class. And there was this time in particular that I remember I had this temporary job at a moving company. And it was, you know, nothing against the moving company, but it wasn't what I was there to do. And I particularly remember going onto the campus, going to a lecture hall, and I was moving desks with these other workers around my friends that literally had their backpacks on, they were studying. It was at that moment where I just felt like this outsider. And I felt like I had failed myself. And what had hurt more than anything else, I feel like I wasted an opportunity. You know, and it was at a time where I couldn't really blame anyone. You know, I had to either choose to allow myself to fail or pick myself up. And so for me, that experience, that was the first time that I kind of lit a fire under myself, and I found my voice.
That's awesome.
So I kind of transitioned from that shy kid who always listened, who just observed, you know, who would never speak up, to somebody who just kind of had this new fire. And I went back into school. I was the first one to raise my hand. I was the first one to discuss. And I think for me, that led me into a position where I kind of got to experience the best of both worlds. And I think in a leadership position that I'm in now, I think that it's really important to be a great listener and to really observe. But I think if you couple that with, you know, you need to share an opinion. You need to have your vision. And so for me, that really led me into that platform where I was like, well, I'm going to start sharing my opinion. My viewpoint matters. And still to this day, I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, Ian's kind of taken over as that older twin position. You know, he's the first one to talk. I get a chance to sit back and listen and observe. And that's why the partnership works so well.
That's fantastic.
But I think for me, it was just, you know, when you get to a point where you can either take an opportunity or waste an opportunity, for me, it just taught me that I'm going to seize every single opportunity, and I'm going to be the one to push myself through it.
I love that. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing that story. We're going to take this opportunity to hear a brief word from our sponsor.
This is Jeff Van Nostrand. Have you ever had a client pass on your lender recommendation because they're insistent that they work with an online lender, an out-of-state broker, or a big box bank just to have that lender screw up the transaction, or worse yet, they miss out on the house entirely? I know it sucks. It's happened to all of us, but you're not alone. These clients are climbing over dollars to pick up pennies. They spotted 1/8% lower rate and they thought they'd save a couple of bucks. And instead, they got their offer thrown out and they missed out on the opportunity to purchase their dream home. Sellers, they don't care about the buyer's interest rate. They don't care about the buyer's loan terms. They want to see a pre-approval letter from a mortgage lender with a reputation for getting the job done. Remember this analogy and help your clients understand they don't want to make the mistake of climbing over dollars to pick up pennies. I'm Jeff Van Nostrand. I'll see you next time.
Hey everybody, I'm Charlie Garber with Fixated Real Estate, and I'm going to be talking to you about the Pacific Northwest Big Badass Real Estate Wealth Expo. Last year blew us away. We had over 30 vendors, 500 registrations. It was an amazing 2-day event. This year, going to be even better. We're going to have over 60 vendor sponsors, speakers from all over the United States that are doing it. None of this guru crap that's out there. You're talking about real investors kicking ass in real estate, from multifamily, single family, commercial, buy and hold investors, fix and flip guys like me. They're going to be there. And if you need to learn how to raise money, if you need to actually go find people to get money for your next deal, then this is the event you want to be at. It's 3 days, April 27th, 28th, 29th in the greater Seattle area. Don't miss out. And I'll see you at the Pacific Northwest Big Badass Real Estate Wealth Expo coming to you in April.
Welcome back, first and foremost. Second of all, I love it. Great stories. Can't wait to dive deeper. And specifically, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about how you actually got Caliber off the ground.
Yeah.
What specifically was the steps, the process? Walk me through it.
Yeah, so to pick up where we left off, in March we had started Caliber. Before Caliber, we were approached, we had the opportunity to work with a hedge fund out of New York. This was, one of the largest hedge funds was coming into the Pacific Northwest, and some of the other funds were following, and it was the new thing, institutional money coming into our market. And they saw that what we had done, and we showed them our resume, and we had flipped about 40 properties in the first 4 years of doing it. And they basically gave us a $50 million line to go out and buy any property we want. It could be a mobile home in the suburb boonies, it could be a Lake Washington waterfront home. It really didn't matter as long as it fit.
So hold on, again, you guys look really young. So how old were you when they basically gave you a key to the castle?
They didn't know I was turning 30 that year. They didn't know that.
Good stuff, man.
But yeah, we just, we had a great start and a great story to tell.
Yeah. Great story to tell.
And that's, that I think what was important to that.
Sure.
Gave them the confidence. So Caliber was given the opportunity to start this fund and open this fund, and we stopped flipping for ourselves. And in that first 18 months of Caliber being open, I remember calling this guy saying, hey, to back up, hey, we gotta go, we gotta leave, we gotta start this company.
Yeah.
We went to the Ram in the U District and had lunch, a couple beers involved.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
Feeling good?
And it's usually how the meetings are. That's what those are the great meetings.
Yeah.
And that hedge fund was our ticket to get out of there and start something. And so, first 18 months with this company, we had flipped 90 properties for them.
Wow.
I mean, it was just, it was crazy.
You guys are machines.
A lot of bumps along the way. I learned a ton of lessons.
Yeah.
But it gave Caliber some momentum.
Okay.
Signs were in the yards.
Yeah.
Flipping is sexy at this time. Everyone's asking questions.
Really cool. Yeah.
And so people were kind of coming to us, and our business model was changing every few months as opportunity would come knocking.
Yep.
And we started recruiting agents. We started building a team, and we've just grown and grown and grown. And the vision was allowing a spot where a traditional agent can come, and they can learn traditional agent, trainings and marketing and collateral. But there was really a need for the investment training as well. Right? And that's where we started, where most brokerages might have started with traditional, and now they're looking to get in the investment world.
Right.
As a company, all we knew was the investment space.
That's awesome.
So giving someone an opportunity to come and somewhat build a recession-proof real estate company, where in any real estate market, with a downturn, upturn, you can shift to the investment side and the traditional side. And there wasn't really a spot for that in this market.
No, yeah.
And that's what we wanted to develop.
That's fantastic. Good for you guys. It's incredible. 75 agents is a lot of agents. Talk to me a little bit about your process for recruiting and maybe some talents and skills and character that you're looking for.
Can I jump on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So 75 agents, within the first couple of years, it grew quickly.
Yeah.
And literally, and I think Ian touched on this a little bit, a lot of it was just, you guys are doing what we're interested in doing, and we were just saying, hey, if you have a pulse, what are you getting paid over there? Awesome, we'll match it. Come aboard. And we didn't really add any value. But I think what is kind of tried and true in our under our roof is that we have a great culture.
Yeah.
And beyond just having the skill set and the tools that we're providing, the access to the investment side, we really do have a great vision to invest in our agents.
Yeah.
And it's an open and collaborative environment. We literally tell this, if you're going to be an agent here, you can literally assume, walk down the hallway, bump into somebody, and if you have an issue, we're going to make that broad assumption that whoever is going to be there is going to be willing to help.
Right.
And that's where we're very intentional about our culture. And so for us, it's just, we're kind of this collective of like-minded people that are really passionate about real estate.
I love that.
You know, and Ian and I, we say this all the time, even to our investors, we're putting on these presentations, like literally, if you guys weren't here, we would still be doing this right now, because we love doing this stuff.
That's the mindset right there. Regardless, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We are still going to pull this
Love
together.
what we do.
Love
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. So you and your partners have flipped over 200 properties. Talk to us a little bit about how do you go about identifying great deals, especially in this highly competitive market? I mean, it seems like everybody and their mom's flipping property right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the first thing is we have to train our agents to spot potential.
Okay.
If you can't spot potential and you can't really have the vision for what something's going to look like,
Right.
That's the number one thing.
Spot potential.
Spot potential.
Okay.
And you got to be able to analyze.
Sure.
I know for me, I was in the traditional real estate space beforehand, and if I would have seen a flip back then and a nice clean house, I would have said they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
You know, but for an agent who's trained to spot that new product, you're creating margin. And the other thing is you have to have access to homes. And,
Yes.
and if you're going to play in the competitive
By
market,
access, what do you mean by that specifically?
so if you're only relying on the MLS,
Sure.
that's going to be a tough
You're dead in the
marketplace.
water, yeah.
You're dead in the water,
Yeah.
right? So which we teach our agents some ways to stick out of the pack, for sure. But I mean, we have access to the auction homes. We do some other forms of marketing that allow us access to more properties. And so I think it's access and getting that trained eye, and that's what we provide for our agents.
And relationships is everything.
That's huge.
Sure.
Relationships. There's the 80-20 rule. You see
Yeah.
a lot of these same distressed, short sale, bank-owned opportunities, big wholesalers
Okay.
come from 20% of the people, and we build relationships with them, and so we make sure that we're their first call when they get an opportunity.
Awesome. That's great. So along with that relationship building, now what does that mean? Does that mean staying in contact via phone? You guys taking these guys out for lunch? What's the deal?
All of the above.
All the above.
We're definitely taking them out to lunch, showing our appreciation. But for wholesalers out there, it's hard enough to go knock down doors and find deals.
Sure.
Then they have to go try to sell them to someone.
Right.
But we've built a pretty large investor list, and for them, and we buy ourselves as well if we can't place it. So for them, they know they can bring it to us, and we'll take care of that the second half of that transaction.
Right.
You go out, you find the deal, and when you have it, you bring it to us, and they know that we're going to close on it. So that's been a big deal.
Great.
Yeah.
I like you guys a lot. You also manage a leading private money fund,
Yes.
correct? Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what you're hoping to accomplish in 2018?
So I don't actually manage it. My partner Fred does. So it's a separate company. When I ended up leaving my previous employer, I'm a hard money guy. I have been for the last 10 years. I was looking for a new home.
Great.
And I was debating between partnering up with another firm or starting my own fund. And I was approached by Fred Ray with Rain City Capital.
Okay.
And he offered me ownership in the fund.
Great.
And he was a smaller fund at the time. I was bringing in a pretty big book of business. And back in 2014, we linked up, and where we were competing for so many years, put our forces together, and Fred's managing over $65 million right now in that fund.
$65 million.
And my role is just bringing deals in the door. My role is to make
fantastic.
it rain, and he's making the money.
Good for you guys, man. This is a great story. I love it. Awesome. So you guys are serial entrepreneurs with a history of success. What advice would you give somebody who's dead set on making their impact on the space of real estate?
I would say play the long game.
Okay.
It's not it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Sure.
Know your brand. And I think for your brand and knowing it's a long game is so big because we, especially in our space, the investment space, and if you're a new real estate agent, sometimes you get so focused on that short game, that commission,
right.
The opportunity to make $50,000 in the next 2 months.
Right.
And I think if you do right by people, even when no one's looking,
sure.
You establish your brand the right way, you're going to do well in the business. And obviously, the harder you work, the more success that comes. But I think a lot of it is just long-term vision.
That's great, man. That's great.
And
go ahead.
I'll give you 2 answers.
Yeah.
I'll make them quick. Humble and hungry is something that we preach.
Humble and hungry.
yeah.
I see that from both of you.
Definitely.
This is my first time talking to you, Zach, but when I met you on the phone, I knew how successful you were prior to speaking. You didn't come across that way at all. You came across incredibly humble.
Thank you.
And I'm really, really happy to see you guys doing so well, but go ahead.
So we consider ourselves lifelong learners.
Sure.
We're
Yes.
always trying to improve and grow, and that's I think what's gotten to us to where we're at. And,
Yeah.
To couple that, we're not very good at a lot of things, but we identify our strengths and weaknesses.
Yes. Yeah.
And we go all in on our strengths. And then we take all of our weaknesses and we fill the holes with great, smart people.
Awesome. Awesome.
So many people take the time to go try to improve their weaknesses and but if you're an unorganized person, you're never going to find a solution that doesn't require you to be organized.
Yes.
And that's, I think, if I can say one thing that I think that we've done pretty well is we've surrounded ourselves with some sharp, smart people that fill in the weaknesses, so we can go out and go all in and do what we do best.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Okay, one last question. Now, before we started the interview, I learned that you guys are opening an office in Tacoma.
Yeah.
So how many offices do you have? What is the thought around expanding into downtown Tacoma, my neck of the woods?
Yes, so I'll take this one. So we're in Bellevue right now. We actually we have had this office for a couple years.
Oh, okay.
We bought it at auction. So we were down at the foreclosure auction. And we had a Tacoma office on Center Street, which was a little rougher part of it.
Rough part.
And
Definitely a rough part.
Our receptionist had someone break in a couple times to the office during business hours. And so she's begging us. So we were looking for a new spot, and this property came up, and I got a call on Friday morning. My guy's at the auction. He said, Ian, there's this commercial space scheduled to go to auction today. And it was like this. You had the brick, the vaulted ceilings, and right there, we haven't seen it yet. I saw some old pictures. We ended up purchasing it, and we went in there and demoed it, took all the walls down, brought that open floor plan that we typically bring for our flips into our office. We're moving into our new Bellevue office. Okay. Right down the street from where we're at right now.
Nice.
And it's a big project. It's a lot of open floor plan, and it's sexy. And the recruiting is going to start once we get in there, which is beginning of May. I think is when we're set to move into.
And I think the other key component is we were looking for a great managed broker.
Okay.
I'm the designated broker, and I was, more or less, I was trying my best. I had best intentions to do well by my agents and teach them everything, but there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah.
We're flipping houses. I'm still listing properties, and I'm trying my best to do well. Spread thin. Spread thin, like a lot of us are in the industry. And we hired an amazing managing broker.
Okay.
And at this point in time, we have this amazing office in Tacoma, and we're looking for that right team to fill the space, and it's coming soon, man. I'm excited to get back in Tacoma.
Well, the universe works in mysterious ways. I had no idea you guys were expanding. This episode's going to come out right in time for you guys to start recruiting.
There we go.
So if people are looking to jump onto your team, where do they go?
So go to our website, contact us. Again, just one last plug here, because I got the opportunity is,
go ahead.
Being able to provide an environment where I said before, agents can focus on traditional real estate, show houses, open houses on the weekends, or agents can also learn how to analyze properties, identify properties, and service investor clients, because investor clients are residual business.
Yes.
They buy and sell over and over and over again.
Right.
So how do we train our agents to be investment specialists and look through real estate from an investment lens? But further that, how do we help our agents buy and own real estate?
Yeah.
That's our end goal. We want a roster full of agents that have purchased properties that we've brought to them. If purchase properties, maybe we've educated them on how to find.
Sure.
And that's gets me excited to be able to help our agents build their own real estate portfolio.
That's phenomenal.
And that's something I can't put on paper in our little pitch sheet. It's like you will own more real estate if you come to Calvin, but it is a fact. It's happening right now.
That's great.
We already know the skills. Why not use it for our long-term wealth building?
I love it. Well, I can't wait to have you guys back on. Thank you so much for being on the show. Zack,
absolutely, man.
Ian, it's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Jeremy. Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon, and thank you for watching. Make sure you tune in next week. We'll see you again real soon.